Hello and welcome to Longship Gaming. Today we're playing some Marvel Champions and some more new content. We are putting Psylocke through her paces, and I'm doing something that I don't normally do, and that's to play her precon. I have heard through the various fan opinions and channels for Marvel Champions that her precon is actually pretty solid, and usually that's not the case. I plan to actually do this with Angel as well in our next video. I mean, it looks like a perfectly fine deck. I guess we'll see, and it's exciting, of course, to have a lot of new cards and new style of play, as it were. And as such, I decided, you know what, let's not tax her too heavily. Let's put her up against Rhino. Now, we all know that Rhino is actually a lot more dangerous than we tend to think of him as the sort of starting hero. But a low threshold on his main scheme of 7 means that he can win out of nowhere. Now, luckily, we do have some built-in stun in her deck. But we'll see how often, not stun, sorry, confuse in her deck. We'll see how often we can get that out. But we're just going to go over what she has in her precon and some highlights from her own deck. And then we'll get into, of course, the very familiar Rhino scenario and what Psylocke actually does. So the precon is a Justice deck, and it comes with, as allies, Cypher, thwart of 1, attack of 1, hit points of 2, response after Cypher attacks and damages a confused enemy, draw 1 card. Captain Britain, costs 4, a 3 thwart, 3 attack. Captain Britain takes one less consequential damage after he thwarts a side scheme or attacks a minion. So that's interesting. And of course 3 health. We have for our events, Concussive Blow. Confused enemy. If you paid for this card using a strength resource, deal 3 damage to an enemy. So that's a reprint of a card, but updated with new art with, again, Captain Britain. It'd be great to actually have a Captain Britain deck. I would love that. Maybe the next X set is Excalibur? No, it's not going to be. That's probably going to be X Factor. Then we have Upside the Head, which is a new card. Hero response. After your hero makes a basic attack and damages an enemy, confuse that enemy. If that enemy is already confused, stun it instead. So that's pretty good for a 1-cost event. And of course, will come in very handy with Rhino. Well, it comes in handy with anybody who doesn't have Stalwart. For upgrades, we have 3 copies of Float Like a Butterfly. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. Interrupt when a character you control attacks a confused enemy. Increase the amount of damage that attack deals to that enemy by 1. And we have 1 player side scheme. So, cost of 1. When defeated, the player who defeated this scheme deals 5 damage to the villain. And has a threshold of 3, so that's pretty easy to get rid of. For our basic cards, we have as our ally Pete Wisdom. No idea who this character is. A 3 thwart and a 2 attack. Costs 4 though. Play only if you have the X-Force trait. Response after you resolve the when revealed effects of a treachery card. Heal 1 damage from Pete Wisdom. Interesting. One of our events is Soaring Hearts that's used with Angel. As a team up. Hero action, discard, search your discard pile for an identity-specific event and add it to your hand. Ready, Angel, and Psylocke. 3 copies of Directed Force. Hero interrupt. When your hero makes an attack that has the keyword Overkill, Piercing, or Ranged, that attack deals 2 additional damage. It's a 0-cost event. Is it a psychic? No, it's just a skill. A new support card called IPAC. Play only if you are X-Force. Hero action, exhaust IPAC and deal 1 face down encounter card to a player. That player draws 2 cards. Interesting. X-Bunker. Location, X-Force. Exhaust X-Bunker and choose a player whose identity has the mutant trait. That player searches the top X cards of their deck for any card where X is the number of side schemes in the victory display. And adds that card to their hand. So, in this particular case, we're only going to get, that's not that useful. Interesting. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's still a card draw. And 3 copies of Telepathy. Play only if your identity has the psionic trait, max 1 per player. Hero action, thwart. Exhaust Telepathy and spend 2 genius resources. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. That seems alright. And, which of course makes total sense with Psylocke, is 3 copies of Power of the Mind. So double the number of resources this card generates when playing a psionic card. But no other basic resources, but that should probably be enough. Okay, so for her own deck, I don't think I organized this properly, so let's quickly do that. We'll break it into types. Alright. So our signature ally is Angel, thwart of 1, an attack of 2. As a response, after you play Angel from your hand, ready your identity, so that's pretty straightforward. 3 hit points. For our events, we have, let's see, I have a lot of events, probably all going to be psychic. Telepathic Suggestion as an interrupt. When you reveal a card from the encounter deck, cancel its when revealed effects. For each Psi Katana you control, choose an enemy and deal 2 damage to it. For each Psi Knife you control, choose a scheme and remove 1 threat from it. Interesting. It's got 2 of those. 2 Psionic Redirects. It's a defense card. Hero Interrupt Defense. When you would take any amount of damage from an enemy attack, prevent 2 of that damage. For each Psi Katana you control, prevent 2 additional damage for each Psi Knife you control. And then confuse the enemy. Oh, interesting. For each Psi Katana you control, prevent 2 additional damage. For each Psi Knife you control, confuse. Huh. Mental Detection. It's a thwart card. Remove 1 threat from a scheme. For each Psi Knife you control, or remove 2 additional threat from that scheme. For each Psi Katana you control, draw 1 card. Flurry of Blades. Deal 2 damage to an enemy. For each Psi Knife you control, choose an enemy and confuse it. For each Psi Katana you control, choose an enemy and deal 2 damage to it. It's got 3 copies of that. For our upgrades, we have Weapons Training. So Psylocke gains Retaliate 1. After Psylocke attacks, discard Weapons Training. Ready each weapon upgrade you control. Sonic Training. Psylocke ignores the guard and patrol keywords. Hero response after Psylocke thwarts. Discard Sonic Training. Confuse an enemy. Wow, there's a lot of confuse. Martial Arts Training. Upgrade. Psylocke gains +1 defense. Hero response after Psylocke defends against an attack. Discard Martial Arts Training. Ready Psylocke. Okay. And as a support, Training Regimen. Action, exhaust Training Regimen. Search your deck for a skill card and add it to your hand. Shuffle. If you are in hero form, discard 1 card from your hand. Okay. Interesting. So we'll go over Psylocke herself because you can see how a lot of the cards dovetail into her kit. She has 10 health. On her alter ego side as Betsy Braddock. She has 3 recovery, Sonic Manifestation, setup, put your 2 Psi Energy upgrades into play, Psi Knife side face up. As an action, exhaust 1 Psi Energy upgrade, shuffle 1 Sonic card from your discard pile into your deck. And her stat line is a pretty poor 1 threat, 1 attack, 2 defense. Psi Energy Control Interrupt. When you use one of Psylocke's basic powers, flip 1 Psi Energy upgrade. So these would be, and it's an interrupt, not a force interrupt, because her 2 Sonic attachments, or Psi Energy weapon attachments, so she has Psi Knife, permanent, she has +1 thwart for each one. Hero resource, exhaust Psi Knife, you generate a genius resource, you may flip this card. So it means she has a starting thwart of 3. On her Psi Katana side, permanent and restricted. Interesting. Because her knife is not restricted, but her katanas are. Huh. Psylocke gets +1 attack, and her basic attacks gain piercing. So then she goes up to a 3 attack. Hero resource, exhaust Psi Katana, generate a strength resource. You may flip this card. Huh. Oh, of course, one thing I noted is that she has a hand size of 6, hit points 10. on her alter ego side, but only hand size of 4, so that's why there's so many draw cards in here, and hit points of 10. Okay, so people should more than likely be pretty familiar with Rhino. 15 health, 15 hit points on his stage 2, because of course we're playing expert. Schema 1, attack of 3, 1 revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for breaking and taken, which we have already done. His main scheme is 1 stage called the break-in. It's got a 7 threshold, a 1, it goes up by 1 each turn, and breaking and taken is a side scheme, comes in with 3, and basically it's got a hazard icon. We have an extra encounter card, but I don't think that's going to be very difficult for us to get rid of, to say the least, on her turn. So we're going to get shuffled up and get ready to go. I'm very excited to play precon. Haven't done it, I think, ever since I started playing the game, and I don't think I've ever done it on the channel. So we shall see how this goes. We're going to shuffle it up, and we'll be right back with Psylocke precon versus Rhino. Alright, we're back. We're shuffled up and ready to go. Apologies for if we seem a little washed out or have some glare going on. I had to move around my shooting area, so still trying to dial in what looks best. Anyway, we have our starting 6 cards. So we have Power of the Mind, Telepathic Suggestion, Pete Wisdom, Cipher, IPAC, and Directed Force. Okay, so I don't think we're doing any attacks right now, so Directed Force can go back. Telepathic Suggestion, no. Cipher might be good to hold on to. IPAC to draw cards, but get an extra encounter card. Not something I want right now. Pete's pretty solid, but expensive. So I think a lot of this is just going to go straight back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Flurry of Blades, Directed Force, Upside the Head, Angel. Okay. So we could be in a position to be able to confuse Rhino. We could just confuse him using Flurry of Blades. Huh, okay, there's a lot to think about here. Okay. Because that's the question is, can we get Breaking and Taken gone and confuse Rhino and put somebody in the way on one turn? I have a feeling that we probably can. Okay. So. Oh yeah, sorry. Of course, still in alter ego form. Nothing we need to do here. So we're going to flip over to Hero. I think the first thing that we're going to do is use our 3 thwart just to get rid of Breaking and Taken right away. Then we're going to use Power of the Mind plus one of our psi knives, and we're going to choose to flip that now that we generated the resource. So we're going to play Flurry of Blades. Deal 2 damage to an enemy, so we're going to do 2 to Rhino. For each psi knife we control, choose an enemy and confuse it. So we have 1 psi knife still. So we're going to confuse Rhino. For each psi katana you control, choose an enemy and do 2 damage to it. So we do 2 more damage because we have 1 psi katana now. So that's pretty good. Then we're going to use our other psi knife to generate a resource. We're going to choose to flip it to the katana side. And we're going to spend upside the head and directed force to bring out Angel. So after you play Angel from your hand, ready your identity. So Psylocke is now ready. And yeah. So we now have an attack of 3, so we're going to do 5 more to Rhino. Interesting. So he's already down to 6th. Okay. Only have 4 cards. Do we keep Cypher? Yes. 1, 2, 3. Cypher, Sonic Redirect, Mental Detection, and Concussive Blow. Okay. So, threat goes on. Rhino's going to attack. Attacks for 3. We're going to put Warren in the way. 3, 4, 5. Encounter card, Stampede. He's going to attack. Wow, and this is going to be interesting because we may just have saved our bacon. Okay. So, he's going to attack again, and this is an interrupt. When you take any amount of damage from an enemy attack to prevent 2 of that damage, for each psi katana you control, prevent 2 additional damage. Okay, so we do have our katanas out. We're going to use those. To, oh, we would take any amount of damage, so we have to interrupt. So we know it's 3, 4. So we play Sonic Redirect, which prevents 6 damage. So nothing happens. We are not damaged, so we are not stunned. So that's pretty good. Yeah, okay. So that's the end of his activation. Now, what do we want to do here? I think we can get Cypher out. But drawing a card doesn't really do much for us. But we want to be able to flip down to get a better grouping of cards. So we're going to attack for 3. So he's down to 3. We're going to choose to flip one of our cards. So we'll flip one of our katanas to a sai knife. Yeah, I guess we'll play out Cypher. Cypher will attack and do 1. And because that's a confused enemy, I'll draw a card. It's Training Regimen. Not that we really need that right now, but I think we're okay. And then we are going to flip down because he's stunned. Our Psy upgrades are already exhausted, so we can't shuffle a card back into our deck. Okay. It's a pretty solid 2 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Training Regimen, Telepathy, Telepathic Suggestion, Weapons Training, Upside the Head, and Psionic Training. Okay. So, back to Rhino. Threat goes on. He's confused, so he can't scheme. Encounter card. Stampede. Just surges. Schemes. Scheme of 1. Just 1. Okay. Always hate to see that, but I think we're good for now. Okay. Can we get him confused again this turn? I guess that's the question. Okay. Anything we need to do in Alter Ego? We could confuse again and upgrade upside the head. We also want to be able to thwart. Do we have any thwarts? Okay. So I think telepathy is very important to get out, as is Training Regimen. Telepathic Suggestion right now, not so much. Okay, so we're going to play out Training Regimen. Exhaust it, search your deck for a skill card and add it to your hand. Shuffle if you're in hero form, discard 1 card. Okay, so we're not, so we're going to go get ourselves a skill card. Float like a butterfly. There's lots of skills there. Directed force, I don't think we really need. Martial arts training. We already have an upside the head. So let's get a float like a butterfly. Okay. I think we want to get telepathy out. We're going to flip over. We're going to It's a lot to think about here. we want to be able to draw a card off of Cypher. So we need to get Rhino confused. Okay. So we're going to put out Sonic Training. No, we're going to put out Sonic Training using our Katana resource and then flip it over to the Psy Knife instead. Then we're going to thwart 3 off of here. So we thwarted, so we're going to discard Sonic Training, we're going to confuse Rhino again. Then Cypher is going to attack for 1, which is going to damage Rhino and take him down to 1. And he's confused, so we're going to draw a card. I guess we're just going to put out weapon training. We have retaliate 1 now. Okay. A lot to think about with her. 1, 2, 3, 4. For your blades, power the mind, and X bunker. Okay. Huh. Gonna be an interesting turn. Okay. So, threat goes on. He's going to attack. We're actually just going to take it because we want the retaliate to trigger. So that's 3, 4. And he takes 1. So he flips. So now he's got toughness, and we're going to be stunned. But that's okay. I'm not really too concerned about that. And he becomes tough. And he has 16 health. And encounter card. Hard to keep down. He heals 4. He can't, so it's going to surge. Give Ryan a tough card if he's not. Surge. So he's already tough. Hard to keep down. Surges again. Wow. Then he attacks. Okay. He could just kill us, so we are going to have to defend. So he's at +2, 4. So I'm down to 2. Yikes. Nasty. Okay. So, what can we do here? Oh, we still have retaliate, so that pinged his tough off, so that's good. Okay, Flurry of Blades isn't going to work for us because we can't attack. I think we're just going to hang on to that. I mean, we can get X bunker out, but there's no side scheme out there. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to exhaust telepathy just to thwart that. I think we're going to... Now we're going to flip them over. And then we're going to flip over. Stun is really affecting us badly. Okay. So we're going to get rid of X bunker, draw back up. Okay. Interesting. We may be able to just get rid of him when we flip back over. We'll see what happens here. Okay. Threat goes on. He's going to scheme, but he can't. Encounter card. If bomb scare is in play, assign X damage. If bomb scare is not in play, so place 4 threat to side scheme, so we gotta go looking for a side scheme now. Let's just go all the way through the deck, apparently. Oh my god. Is this really what's happening? Wow. Amazing. That was just awful. And now, of course, we just have to keep going. Oh, okay, crowd control right off the bat, so. Now, let's see how we can sequence this. He's at 16 health. We've got 2 Flurry of Blades, which we can do 12 on this turn. We do have a training acumen that we can search for a skill card. Okay. So Float Like a Butterfly is still in here. Directed Force is a skill. Upside the Head is a skill. Now, we don't have any way to confuse right now. Or Float Like a Butterfly has to be confused to do more damage. I guess Directed Force? And hope we draw into the card that gives us that ridiculous defense ability. Because chances are we'll just die. All right. There's a lot of hard choices here. Okay, well, we're going to flip over. We are going to attack to get rid of our stun. Then one, two, three for the first flurry of blades. So for each psychic attack you control, choose an enemy and deal 2 damage to it. So we do 6 damage. It's down to 10. After we attack, we can discard weapons training to ready our weapon upgrades again. Then we're going to do it again. We need to have the katanas to prevent damage. In this case, I think we only need to use one of them. and empower the mind for another flurry of blades. So do another 6 down to 4. And then spend directed force after that attack, because we have piercing. It's going to do 2. Then we're going to play a martial arts training. No, we're going to use that to play a martial arts training and keep... No, we want to try and draw into as many cards as possible, so... Okay, well, this is going to be a close one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sonic Redirect, which is exactly what we were looking for. Okay, I think we are definitely good. Okay. Okay. So 2 threat goes on. He's going to attack. We're going to use our Psy Katanas to pay for Sonic Redirect. So even if he flips a 3, we should be okay. So 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we're good. And he takes 1 from Retaliate. Oh, he does. We don't have Retaliate anymore, so no, he does not. Okay. Encounter card, Surge and Reveal. Oh boy, here's where things get bad. All right, Breaking and Taken. And he gets Tough card. Okay. But we do have Piercing. So I think, yeah, we definitely got a little lucky there, to say the least. And then we can just finish him off with Psylocke with the 3 damage. Okay, wow. That was... she can't really weather taking 2 attacks on a turn. We sort of really had to brink that one. But, yeah, okay. You know what? I feel that... I feel that her precon is actually pretty solid. I mean, at least against Rhino, but as you can see, that still was a pretty close thing with a precon for her. I'd be interested to see if I could take the precon through a number of scenarios, right? Like from the start. Like next one would be like Claw and then Ultron, to see if it's possible that she retains that strength playing through the playing through some of the earlier stages or earlier scenarios. But yeah, it's we really had to sort of go on the brink there and pray that we got Sonic Redirect, which is extremely powerful for ignoring that much damage. So, and I do like the fact, I think it was very smart of them to not force the flipping. You can flip if you want to. So, very interesting. All right, that was a lot of fun. And I look forward to, in the next video, taking the Angel Precon up against one of the earlier villains. I haven't really quite decided who it's going to be yet, but we'll see who it's going to be in the next video. So let me know what you think of Psylocke, what you think of this game. Just, tell me if I missed anything, because again, first time playing her. But yeah, she had fun. Or I had fun. I'm sure she did too, beating up on Rhino. But again, it was pretty close. So until next time, happy gaming. Thank you so much for watching Longship Gaming. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It will really help the channel to grow and improve. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when more Longship Gaming content goes live. Until next time, happy gaming.